Gentlemen, I'm Clarence Stauffenbiel, who many of you know. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the first meeting of Salescraft for 1963. This Salescraft meeting is concerned with the Cadillac product you are selling in this year's competitive market. We have taken an approach to this problem which presents the values that Cadillac alone offers and points up the obvious lack of these same values on the part of our competitors. It is a fact that many lost sales can be blamed on salesmen bringing competition into the sale when the prospect is content to leave it lie quietly at his feet. So remember the advice of sales experts who say, unless the prospect brings competition into a sale, leave it out. However, we are certain that in selling competitive owners, you will find the ammunition contained in this meeting of exceptional value to you. What is the measure of value that sets Cadillac apart from all other motor cars? What is the measure of value that makes Cadillac the standard of the world, and how can this value be measured? Can it be measured like upholstery in terms of lineal distance, feet, yards, meters? Can it be measured in terms of work, of time spent on the job? Can it be measured in terms of engineering perfection, in terms of design standards, or in terms of heritage, built on the happy experiences of over 2,658,959 owners since 1902? Can it be measured in terms of unprecedented performance, designed to completely satisfy quality motor car owners? Can it be measured in men's lives devoted to an ideal, craftsmanship a creed, accuracy a law, and set out in terms of a heartbeat? Yes, Cadillac's measure of value can be presented in terms of quality, of engineering and design, of materials and vendor-supplied components, of craftsmanship, of performance, of pride in possession, and that measure of value which no other car can claim, namely Cadillac heritage and reputation. For instance, in spite of its frequent forays into the quality market, the Lincoln, now called the Lincoln Continental, cannot boast the measure of value, heritage, as can Cadillac. Certainly, Chrysler Imperial or New Yorker do not share it, nor do Buick Electra, the Riviera, Olds 98, or the Starfire find it easy to acquire a fine car image based on heritage. And the Ford-built T-Bird and Chevy-built Corvette both find themselves classified in heritage with two low-price lines of motor cars. Yes, the measure of value, heritage, is not shared by these competitive cars that claim to be luxury motor cars, designed to meet the demands of the Cadillac market. And just what is this measure of value called heritage based on, as far as Cadillac is concerned? Well, to reach the same level of reputation as that enjoyed by Cadillac, competitors would be required to match Cadillac's 61-year history dedicated to building the finest motor car in America, of daring to be different, of being the first with the finest at all times, of bringing the entire motor car industry up to new, higher standards. For during the decade of our grandparents, Cadillac first introduced and proved many basic motoring refinements. For example, then, in our parents' day, Cadillac was first to offer and build an inherently balanced 90-degree V8 engine and now, in our time, the measure of value, heritage, is built on this 61-year history. Another measure of value, engineering, design, and manufacturing craftsmanship play a vital role in competitive selling. We have asked Dan Adams, Assistant Chief Engineer, to discuss this measure of value with us.
As an engineer, perhaps no one other measure of value seems as great to me as does that of quality engineering, design, and craftsmanship. For example, let's take the upholstery of the 1963 Cadillac and see what makes Cadillac upholstery the standard that the rest of the industry follows. Before this one piece of upholstery was chosen to go into the 1963 Cadillac, over 1,000 pieces of material from mills located all over the world were carefully analyzed and screened. From these 1,000 types and patterns, 50 were selected by Cadillac stylists because they met the overall standards expected of them for appearance and all-around acceptability. These 50 pieces of upholstery were further checked till 30 pieces had been accepted as ready for further consideration and test. It must be realized that from this 30, we reduced our selection down to 10 basic patterns. We actually reduced down to 4 different types of patterns: floral, striped, figured, and plain. These patterns are then made up into regular seats and subjected to the most grueling program of testing possible.
We have asked Mr. Clarence Morphew, who is responsible for Cadillac body and upholstery, to tell us about the tests that these upholstery fabrics, leathers, and vinyls are given before they are accepted.
The 10 fabrics, as well as the carefully selected leathers and vinyls that we test for Cadillac, are given a workout that is equivalent to 2 or 3 years of extensive use by an owner. For example, this one test alone will reveal how thorough we are in determining whether the leather or cloth selected can stand up in continued use. Squirming Irma here makes over 25,000 squirms to test material. 20 squirms, then up for 20 squirms. This goes on day after day, night after night, until 25,000 squirms have been made. And here, the result of this test can best be graphically shown. This piece of cloth did not pass muster with us. We also test for wear, tear, cutting, sewing, installation ease, tensile strength, seam wear, ravel, odor, mink pull, shrinkage, and the effect of humidity on the material. The next testing covers the ability of the colors to remain fast under all conditions. In this test, made by the weatherometer, the material, whether it is fabric, leather, or vinyl, is really made to sit up and answer as to whether it is up to Cadillac Fleetwood standards. Then, to take all possible guesswork out of our tests, we subject the materials to actual open weather in Florida at our color testing laboratories in Coral Gables.
What Clarence Morphew has told us about Cadillac upholstery materials is certainly good ammunition for competitive selling. Let's see how this will fit into a practical sales application. Here is Dick French, General Manager for a large Michigan Cadillac dealership with a prospect.
Mrs. Johnson, now that you have picked the color and material you prefer, let me show you how well it makes up in this car, which is upholstered in the same material. Would you believe it, Mrs. Johnson? This Cadillac upholstering is one of 10 different materials and patterns which Cadillac carefully picked and tested from 1,000 to find but 10 acceptable materials. And to assure absolute dependability and acceptance, Over 2,000 different shades, dyes, and processes were checked and tested, and owner preferences recorded at our Coral Gables testing grounds before the final materials and shades were agreed upon. You will, I know, be interested in one test that is made on all Cadillac upholstery material. It is called the mink pull test. Every fabric pulls a little, and as you know, mink is very perishable. Cadillac makes sure that the pattern and material selected is such that it exerts practically no pull at all on furs. And then, too, this fabric that you have selected is called Cambria, and it is available in the following shades with matching leather bolsters.
Dick French has shown us how he applies the measure of value upholstery in an actual sales situation. Dick gave us another actual experience where the measure of value craftsmanship proved a powerful competitive selling power. A prospect came into the showroom and asked to see the dealer. Since the dealer was out, Dick French talked to the prospect.
He told us he wanted to buy a Cadillac and hoped we could give him a good trade-in, that he was going to shift after owning Imperials for 5 years. This prospect had recently been awarded a contract by Cadillac. He told us that it had been his experience to serve all motor car manufacturers, but that of them all, Cadillac was by far the most strict on inspection and acceptance of outside or vendors' work. He went on to say that other motor car manufacturers would gladly accept materials which Cadillac turned down, and that he was out to enjoy the benefits that this strict adherence to craftsmanship would bring him. Further, he was happy to have an opportunity of selecting his car from among 12 different models instead of the 6 that had been offered him by Chrysler.
Dick has shown us a result of the measure of value craftsmanship. Now let's look in again on Dan Adams, who will discuss the measure of value found in Cadillac forward design planning.
Continuity of design became a hallmark of Cadillac styling, with each year bringing a greater refinement than the last to the established fin styling that marks Cadillac. Then, too, this carried on into all models in each following year, so that from the 1948 model to today, the mark of Cadillac has continued unbroken, one year to another. Another interesting fact is that, whereas our stylists are the very best in the world, the Cadillac owner has a lot to say about the styling of next year's car. Consumer surveys and numbers, year after year, serve to guide us in this vital phase of engineering.
Yes, that's right, Dan. From the magnificently appointed Fleetwood 75 through all 12 models to the Cadillac Series 62 Coupe, interior refinements, craftsmanship, and styling are not matched by any competitive make car in the luxury or medium price class. In Cadillac, all things go together to provide the very finest appointments, made richer by care and craftsmanship carried out to the most minute detail. And perhaps in no other way is this adherence to the measure of value, craftsmanship, more clearly expressed than in the cloisonné crest, which is proudly presented on the 1963 Cadillac. To get this story, let's talk to Nick Stock, Director of Purchasing, Cadillac Motor Car Division.
Mass-produced quality cloisonné became almost a lost art with the introduction some 20 years ago of plastic medallions. So Cadillac Purchasing was required to reactivate vendors who had lost most of their trained personnel. To assure the very best in quality and quantity performance, teams of experts from Cadillac went to the selected suppliers and set up plant standards to train workers in new skills to assure that the product of these vendors lived up to the measure of value in craftsmanship which Cadillac demands. The cloisonné crest is made on a forged gilder's bronze base. The depression holds the colors that are applied in a thick enamel-formed substance by girls who possess extreme skill. After the colors are put in, the crest is heated several times to expel moisture from the enamel-like substance and the entire piece is fired at a temperature up to 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. This gives a glass-like consistency to the colors. The crest is then buffed and polished. And finally, the entire piece is chrome-plated to assure continued long-life beauty.
This story of what we do to make a simple piece of ornamentation shows how we maintain top craftsmanship even in the smaller things that go to make the total motor car a Cadillac. This die-cast aluminum front engine cover should be an interesting subject too. What's the story there, Nick?
Now, in creating the aluminum die casting that we have here, Cadillac once more has dared to be different, to bring increased performance, economy, and dependability to the operation of the 1963 Cadillac by finding a new and better way to get a job done. Up to the time that our space program developed new metallurgical concepts, this die-cast piece of aluminum could not have done the multiple jobs asked of it. However, today, this one casting covers the water pump, is the front cover of the engine, and supports all the components which are grouped to the front and center of the engine to provide performance and service economy benefits never before possible in an engine like this.
To get an even better picture of what Nick Stock has told us, let's look in on John Henkel, superintendent in charge of engine assembly, and ask him to show us why the measure of value set up in terms of craftsmanship is so well expressed right here in the Cadillac engine section.
Well, to my way of thinking, the fabrication of the Cadillac engine is one of the most important manufacturing steps in the overall creation of the complete motor car. Mr. Stock, of course, plays a vital part in maintaining an excellent group of over 4,000 vendors serving Cadillac. But we here in production are, after all, the ones who have created and made real the high standards of manufacturing excellence that mark Cadillac. In building this engine, we take many precautions that other manufacturers either overlook or let slide. So careful are we with the total balance of each Cadillac engine that complete sets of rods and selected and matched pistons are completely balanced, one with another and in groups, to assure that the performance of the engine is as smooth as possible at all times in its operational life. The crankshaft in the new Cadillac engine for 1963 has been redesigned, is shorter, and therefore more rigid. The shorter the shaft, the less chance there is actually for twisting and vibration forces to build up. You can illustrate this point with a 24-inch rule. Holding the rule at each end, it is very easy to twist. However, if one holds the ruler as shown, it is much more difficult or almost impossible to twist it. Then, to show not only the effect of torsion on the crankshaft, but also the effect of the explosive forces that act on it as the engine fires each time, you can use this method with the ruler to show how Cadillac has reduced this effect. When the ruler is held with a full length over the edge of a desk or table, it is easy to snap it as shown. However, if you shorten the ruler, you once more will notice how rigid it has become. Explosive forces within the cylinders exert tremendous forces on the pistons and the crankshaft. The short, rugged Cadillac crankshaft for 1963 resists this tendency far more than the crankshafts of other engines of comparable horsepower. To make the engine even more rigid and free of vibration, the main bearings have been made larger. The effect of these refinements in the engine are actually startling. So smoothly and quietly does this mighty engine perform. The proof of the pudding is in the testing, and right here you can see how smoothly and quietly the 1963 Cadillac engine performs its work. Attention to minute detail is constant, and we never let up on our strict adherence to the highest production standards to assure the very ultimate in engine performance.
Thank you, John. The measure of value, craftsmanship, is certainly obvious in what we have seen. This year, Cadillac not only boasts over 200 positive improvements over the 1962 Cadillac, but offers the owner one of the best balanced, most vibration-free motor cars in the world today. And this, of course, brings us to the 1963 Cadillac Driveline. Let's check with Lloyd Greenleaf, staff head and production engineer, on this aspect of Cadillac performance.
The 1963 Cadillac driveshaft is unusual and is not matched by that of any other motor car manufacturer in this country. As we all know, the advent of the high-performance engine has placed a very heavy burden on the powertrain of motor cars. The first and most obvious proof of this is found in excessive vibrations caused by components needed to handle the high power. Other causes of these vibrations which occur at various speeds are usually associated with the effects of speed, road, and load on the spinning driveshaft. This graph shows the amount of imbalance caused by centrifugal force alone on a steel rod which is spinning at the same speed as that of a propeller shaft in a motor car traveling at a speed of 35 miles an hour. Now, when weight is added, like that of a standard universal joint, the effect is obvious and the vibration is quite distinct. Then adding an uneven load distribution to a car so that one side is lower than another, plus the imbalance caused by rough roads, and one can see the tremendous job that must be done to smooth out the vibrations. Cadillac constant velocity joints do this. For example, this graph shows the wave pattern of centrifugal vibration on a driveline with no constant velocity joint, just as a standard universal joint. Now here's a typical driveline vibration wave pattern when only one constant velocity joint is used, such as in the Lincoln Continental and other cars. However, when two constant velocity joints are used, a Cadillac exclusive, this is the practically flat vibration wave that results.
The next step is to prove the facts we have given based on results found and checked at the famous Milford GM Proving Grounds. Nick Plumer and the Cadillac Proving Grounds section have proved that Cadillac performs better than or as well as any of these competitive motor cars.
Let's first talk about quiet. There are three areas in which we feel Cadillac is the most quiet motor car in the world today: wind noise, road noise, and engine noise. This graph illustrates these three areas of quiet in a motor car going 40 miles per hour over very rough road. Cadillac is the red line which you see here, the lowest in numbers of sound decibels. Next, we considered vibration. Once more, it is Cadillac which has the lowest moment of vibration in three basic situations at 40 miles per hour: over a smooth road, over a rough road, and with an unbalanced load in car. To prove Cadillac's inherent stability and cornering ability, a series of sharp turns were run at speeds ranging from 20 to 60 miles an hour. Turns as sharp as those on the Pikes Peak run. Once more, it is Cadillac, head and shoulders above them all. Then up the 16.7% grade, a hill which is a duplicate of many found in San Francisco. The flag, located halfway up, is about where a cross street is usually found as one drives up the street. Now let's see how Cadillac comes out on this test. The cars in the luxury field are all of them second to Cadillac in this showdown test. We tested these cars in this manner, and as we said earlier, Cadillac was always better or at least equal of all cars in this group. Then, to carry our program still further, we have developed another testing program which Cadillac alone pursues faithfully. This we call the housewife's or doctor's schedule. A regular production line Cadillac is placed at our disposal, and we really give it a practical test. The car is left out summer and winter. It is driven on dry and wet pavements. It is driven for 10 minutes, then stopped and parked, and started up again after a half-hour wait. It is driven through salt, through slush, day after day, week after week, month after month.
This 1963 Cadillac has come through this test with flying colors. Actually, this is one of the most practical and dramatic exhibitions of performance that we have ever seen. And this, to a large degree, is because of what Duane Soames and his group back at the factory have done to assure great product reliability.
We really give Cadillacs a workout, second to none in the industry. I've just brought back this Cadillac to the end of the production line where I picked it up last night. I have wrung it out, and if I ever find anything wrong with one of these cars, someone hears about it. This one checks out 100%. Of course, each car should check out perfect, because my group in production reliability makes over 1,400 inspections of each car and its components during and after the assembly of the car. Each year during the summer, I go with a group of Cadillac executives and engineers to the General Motors Proving Ground near Phoenix, Arizona. This year, we took two cars, a 1962 and a 1963 Cadillac. Then each of us took turns driving the cars in the most exhaustive workout we could devise, 50 miles in the 63 and 50 in the 62. And as was true last year, the new Cadillac model performed much better under all load and road conditions and at all speeds. So this is what we build Cadillac reliability on. Reliability we can test, feel, and prove.
Thanks, Duane, for your story. Now, no competitive comparison is worth much if we don't give you some figures. So we have printed up for insertion into your personal sales manuals statistics covering many factors of the 1963 Cadillac line, which we feel will be of service to you. Then, for those of you who need even more convincing, we want to leave you with this thought. 12 models of Cadillac can provide you with a car to match anything that competition can offer by at least 2 to 1. If your customer feels the 215-inch Cadillac isn't long enough, offer him the 75, which is over 243 inches long. If over 54 inches in height isn't enough, offer him the 59-inch 75. For comfort, you can offer a Cadillac that has over 65 inches of front seat hip room and one with over 63 inches of rear hip room. And for roominess, you can offer a Cadillac that provides over 38 inches of headroom front to 40 inches, and from 38 inches to over 39 inches rear. A Cadillac that has a turning diameter curb to curb of 43 feet up to one that takes 48 feet. Yes, no matter what measurement your customer wants in a fine luxury motor car, Cadillac offers it measure for measure. And now, to summarize, we have called on Mr. M.E. Fields, Assistant General Sales Manager of the Cadillac Motor Car Division.
We usually call the first Salescraft release a competitive comparison meeting. This year, we have purposely avoided so labeling it and have instead described it as the Cadillac Story of Excellence. Our reasons are obvious, for when we examine the other so-called luxury motor cars, as we know you will do, we find that the closest all-around competitor to the 1963 Cadillac is the 1962 Cadillac. Over the years, Cadillac has earned and maintained its leadership. setting standards which the entire industry has attempted to follow, and which Americans in every walk of life have accepted as the symbol of everything that is first class. You and all of us in Cadillac have kept this image alive. The complete Cadillac look and feel, and the image of exclusiveness sought after by competition is still that of Cadillac alone. To go still further, competition attempts to copy us, but succeeds only in coming up with one or more luxury items, falling far short of the total automobile. For in selling Cadillacs, you offer a complete luxury motor car, not one or more features. In selling Cadillac's measure of value for 1963, in selling Cadillac the total luxury motor car, you are helping your customers realize ownership of their finest possession, Cadillac, the standard of the world.